So, a word that you've used a couple times in this answer is routine. So, I want to touch on that quickly because that's one that I think a lot of working parents on Kunik recognize the value in and are also terrified of because getting a routine for a lot of us, essentially, I'm in the same boat. I'm working from home without childcare with my 1 year old. My husband and I are switching off and on constantly. So, the idea of routine seems unachievable right now. It seems hard. So how do you take that word and make it like I understand the benefits intellectually. It's hard to put it in practice when you're trying to balance all this stuff at once. And especially for parents who have older kids than I do, who are used to having those kids in camps and schools and are now trying to figure out if they're a camp counselor or what's happening this summer.
Yeah,
How can we take this idea of routine and kind of make it something manageable?
sure. Yeah, one of the kind of simplest ways to start, I think, is what I like to call like bookending your days. So that basically means like having a really strong morning and evening routine, even if they're very simple, and then maybe having one kind of touch point in the middle of the day. So this could look like in the morning, if your mornings are all over the place right now, like just picking like three things that have to happen in the same order. Okay, so that can be like you waking up 15 minutes before your kids. That's a great one because then you have like a few minutes just to like orient yourself and like get yourself together before you jump into caring for other people. And then like everyone's at the breakfast table at 9 a.m. And then if the kids are older, like we start schoolwork at 10, or whatever, like whatever those three things are. There's like a million different ways this can look depending on ages and things like that.
Right.
But not to lock yourself into like at 9:15 we do this, at like 10:30,
I
that's
think that is the problem. People hear routine and they think of those color coded schedules that are like every 20-minute block, which is great for some people and completely unrealistic for others.
often just not realistic. Exactly. And so I think those like bookmarks are really important. So I would say like what are the three things you can do in the morning consistently? Okay, like give those kind of a time marker. You don't have to be like super strict about it, but I think a time for everyone to be eating breakfast, like that's a big one that often works for people, is like, okay, at this time, everyone's dressed and downstairs by approximately like 8:30. Okay, that's a good one. Getting up before your kids is a good one. Like, even something as simple as thinking about the flow of your household can be really helpful. So, for example, if you're going downstairs, doing breakfast, then going back upstairs, brushing teeth, changing clothes, that can complicate things like crazy, right? So if part of your routine just becomes as simple as before we come downstairs, if we don't want to get the kids dressed before breakfast because they'll get messy, bring the clothes downstairs with us, okay? And then that way you think through like the flow of how you're moving in your household in the morning time, and then you have that marker. And then same thing in your evening, like what are those couple of like bookmarks you can put in, like, okay, no matter what, at the very latest, like between 7 and 7:30, we're in the bath. Okay, like that's
Mhm.
one. And then like we know the three things that have to happen after that. It's like bath, teeth, books, bed, right? Like that's a pretty standard, and that's a whole nother conversation because I know that's not as easy as it sounds all the time, but
No.
but markers, right? And then in the middle of the day, it might be independent play, or it might be like a quiet hour where all the kids go to their room at 1 o'clock after lunch and they play by themselves for 30 minutes, or younger children might be napping or something like that. And so that way you have these like, okay, the rest of the day, if it's all over the place, at least we know that we have these like 3 points that we check in on. So
Okay.
that's the most like attainable, like, easy place to start.
No, that feels achievable. It's funny you mentioned the clothes because I grew up in Maine and my parents have 4 kids, and my mom kept everybody's socks in the mudroom downstairs and not in our bedroom. And people always thought we were insane when they came over to my house. And my mom was like, every day when I get these goddamn kids to the bus, they don't have their socks ready to put on. Their shoes are downstairs and then they have to run upstairs to get their socks. And I'm not doing it anymore. I'm keeping all the socks downstairs. And it worked really well, but people thought we were insane.
No, it really is though, that like the flow of the household thing is really like revolutionary for some people, because they'll be like, we come out and have breakfast and then it's like I can't get them to go back to their room, or there's like a tantrum. That like it's such a simple thing, but it really does make a difference, especially for younger kids, because we also know transitions can be really challenging for younger kids. So it's like lessening the number of transitions you have to have within one routine can be super helpful.